Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. My name is Lachlan Albert, and I am also not sure what happened there. As you can see the shock on Todd's face as we go live as it cuts in. I am joined by the man who had the computer issues this time, not me. It's Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing?
I don't know if I'm... Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Because everything for me was like about 30 seconds behind. Like in my headphones, I could still hear the theme song. So this is great.
Oh, boy.
This is where off to a cracking start.
You're able to hear me now, I hope?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but I'm great we pay so much for this StreamYard.
Oh, yeah. Excellent value for money. And while we're here...
Sorry, I don't mean to be pissy already.
Let's also introduce a man who likes to get a bit summer sizzled before the podcast. It's Jeff Setti. Jeff, how you doing, mate?
Hey. You're not supposed to have that camera.
Pario Magazine says it's probably still Lachlan's internet's fault. Hard to argue. And Andy from Bob Backlund Fridges says, meanwhile, old mate Setti's in crystal clear HD. Why are they putting the servers in Melbourne? That's what I'm blaming. That's my...
I'm just wondering if... Yeah, that syncs up. Look at this. That just syncs up with the poster in the background.
Phenomenal stuff for one of us.
Well, you know what, mate? If the servers weren't in Melbourne, people would be complaining that it wasn't in Melbourne. So, I mean...
Yeah, they like to do that. It should be in Sydney or Melbourne is what I hear. We have had a chance to watch some wrestling this week that wasn't from Sydney or Melbourne. We're catching Adelaide's own Riot City Wrestling as they plow into a full fringe season with RCW Summer Sizzler, a bit of a show where, and we like to do these ones where you see more of the young talent, the people who are making some debuts and stuff. And that's what this show was. A lot of really exciting younger people getting a chance in the spotlight. And let's just kick on into it. Well, I say let's just kick on into it, but if you're listening to the audio podcast, hit pause, go watch the show, then come back to see if you agree with what we say. It's really easy to do because you can just do it on YouTube for free because the show's free on YouTube. If you go type in Riot City Wrestling Summer Sizzler, you'll find the show. The production on it's really good. It's got great commentary over the whole thing. It is cut together well. Like, we say it every time when it comes to RCW. It's a delight to watch it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't realize that was a question that had to be answered.
Yeah.
You usually go on for about another 15 minutes. I was going to put the cardboard cutout down and walk away.
Yeah. No, like, I always really impressed by the quality of show, regardless of the wrestling when it comes to RCW. But obviously, they have one of the best rosters in terms of wrestling that is around. So big shout out to everything that they do. And they kicked off this show with an old guard match here with Brody Hunter coming up against Mr. Cliff. Because yes, Mr. Cliff is in the old guard, and that is something we'll be touching on throughout the show. Joining the commentary here is old guard member Dean Brady, who I'm just going to say does a really entertaining job this whole show of like making points that are valid about the wrestling while also being entertaining and pushing forward what the old guard are doing. So shouting that out at the top.
It's no secret that we've got Dean Brady against a mystery opponent on the Saturday night. No idea who it is. It's a mystery. That's why it's a mystery opponent. And I can tell you what, he's got a very dry sense of humour. Very dry. And it was so funny. I agree with you, Lachlan. He was very entertaining and did some kind of nice chemistry with the other two commentators, with the play-by-play guy and the other guy, the face commentator. It just worked. The trio worked, and Dean definitely worked as a special guest commentator, because of course the advantage of that is he could also shut up when he had to. He didn't need to talk all the time, and that was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, Todd, did you have something to add there?
No, I agree completely. I like the fact that they put Dean there for the majority of the show because it showed his personality. It's something he hasn't really had a chance to explore and a chance to show off a lot in the past. And now this is really giving him a chance to do that. So, yeah, I enjoyed that.
And Angus is one of the best when it comes to, you know, getting things out of people on commentary, both in the ring and who are next to him, because he's so knowledgeable. So, big shout out there. But to speak about this opening match with Brody Hunter managing to get the victory over Mr. Cliff, something that only the best of the best can do. Brody Hunter's image of the whole hockey player with the horror-inspired TMNT, whatever you want to call it, hockey goalie mask and the hockey stick. I like the look. It's easily identifiable. I don't know if keeping the mask on the whole time is something that's going to be able to follow through over the long term. I think it's a great entrance gimmick, but I think maybe he needs to lose it, if not at the start of the match, partway through the match, so that we can identify him as here's Brody Hunter the wrestler and not just Brody Hunter the character. But look, I like seeing Mr. Cliff lose. I think it's so entertaining, and we'll talk more about that throughout the show. I think that he is so very good in this spot and managed to make Brody Hunter look quite good. Todd?
I'll agree with you in sort of a way. Like, I like the mask. I don't like that he wears it during the match, and it's because it's like a mask. It's protection. Like that's like a hockey goalie's protection. So if they get hit in the face, they don't get hurt. It's sort of like, and Dean in commentary was just like, he's cheating. You shouldn't be wearing that. That's like, and I'm like, he's kind of right. Like, he shouldn't be wearing that. I felt the same way, even though it was a really good look and a really good gimmick for Baron when they had Baron like that, because like that looked like a metal mask. And how the hell are you ever going to get knocked out if you're wearing a metal mask? Same thing as like a goalie's mask. How the hell are you ever going to get knocked out if you're wearing a goalie's mask for the whole match? Aside from that,
if you're allowed to do that,
like,
sorry to interrupt, if that's perfectly fine, why aren't we seeing wrestlers come out in motorbike helmets for the strategic advantage that it gives?
Yeah, 100%, because that's what I'd be doing.
I have 2 words to say to you boys. The nasty boys. That's all. Well, actually, it wasn't the nasty. Jimmy Hart was wearing the motorcycle helmet, but move on.
Yeah. Only Jimmy Hart wore it. Everyone else was smart and like took them off. They all took their masks off. Yeah, like it's cool to have it. And even if he had like a hockey mask face paint underneath the hockey mask,
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
do you know what I mean? Just
yeah, that I like.
So it still hides, because he mightn't want to like show his actual face yet, and I can sort of understand that. But then just put on some face paint that looks like the hockey mask.
Well, he's also probably. I mean, the mask for newer wrestlers is a longer term gimmick because you can't see the nerves. Like, he's probably concentrating and hasn't got his facial expressions down yet. So I can forgive it, at least for the next several shows, until he's feeling confident. I don't think it's a permanent thing.
I can understand why. No.
Yeah.
I can understand why he does it. I just, aesthetically and like psychologically in wrestling, that doesn't marry up for me. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
But aside from that, his ring work is good. He's got a lot of potential. Like there's a lot of potential I see in his work. And Mr. Cliff is just like, you want someone in there to get beaten, just throw Cliff in there. He'll do it for you.
And I think Cliff is delightful. Todd and I had this conversation one week while you were stuttering. I think Cliff is delightful, and I think he's losing nothing by losing all these matches. What he's gaining is the crowd wanting to see him win. He's slowly turning babyface, and it is hilarious to watch. Lachlan and I had the absolute dead set, abhorrent, misguided conversation with Mr. Cliff. The guy's delusional. Let's be honest.
He's really absolutely the best. Yeah, it's insane.
Because he's aware that he's losing all the time, but he seems not to care. In all seriousness, though, meeting Cliff was a delight. He came straight up to Lachlan and I and said some very nice things to us. I think this is working, and I think he and the old guard are working because the crowd are into it. And you've got to let the crowd be the judgment. That's ultimately what's going on here. I think Rosenthal and Grimm are so good in their roles. Rosenthal by doing so little but being so present, and Grimm by being Grimm. I think the guy is enormous. By the way, there is a show in Adelaide if you're interested. It is a Viking-themed show. I'm mentioning it now because it's on this weekend.
Yeah.
And some
A
of the
Night
rights,
to Remember, I think it's called.
A Night to Remember.
KNIGHT to remember.
K-N-I-T to remember. K-N-I-G-H-T, Night to Remember.
A Night to Remember. It's on this weekend. Please, 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 go and see it. Encourage this kind of thing because it's not just Grimm. It's Matt Hayter. I think that
a lot of them are. Like, Matt's in there.
I think Zach Sabbath's in there. Oh, it's on tomorrow night, James Gray is telling us. Thank you, James. Tomorrow night.
I think Mickey Fortune's on there. Havoc's on there. Pretty much the Right City crew is on there. So
don't miss it. Is what I'm saying.
What's his name? He plays the Viking at RCW.
Einar the Strange?
Einar. Thank you. Einar's in there. I know he was one of the Vikings. That's why. And also from Joey from Rampage is one of the other Vikings. Joey Ryan.
You know, I'm sorry to digress, but I think if we don't mention it, we probably will forget.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I really, really go and see that show because I know the crew have worked so hard on it, and good on them. And this is something slightly different from those folks you love at Riot City. And we'll mention the other thing that's slightly different from those folks you love at Riot City. So go and see it. Go and support these guys doing something different. I love this match. I think Cliff has become so good and looks good in losing. He doesn't just lose; he looks great in losing, and he puts people over. And that's the art, is making people better by covering you and getting the 3 count. It's fantastic.
That's part of it, right? It's not that Mr. Cliff is on a losing streak because he's a bad wrestler. It's because he is constantly in over his head. And he's a good wrestler. He's strong. He cheats whenever he's able to. He's got a hard-hitting move set. And yet he's always just in over his head. He's got the old guard pushing him into situations that he can't handle. He's taking on challenges that he can't meet. And that's what makes him look... And I'm going to use the word pitiful, which is almost what they're going for. It's like, oh, come on, give him a break. Just let him get one, come on. And that's the thing that's going to lead to, I think, the climax of this story, which we'll talk about.
I'm going to go out.
We'll talk about it later because there's something different there about that, but we'll talk about that later going on. But
I'll say it in relation to the later match. I'll say what I'm going to say in relation to the later match.
So moving on, we had another one-on-one match here with Chasm and Scorch going one-on-one, and this revolved around the fact that Chasm, I think, believed Scorch to be some kind of living flame, and so he brought oven mitts out to protect himself while he was wrestling, and then that was the big moment through the match, as Scorch managed to throw the oven mitts off him, and then eventually take the shirt off to be able to use those super hot hands to get the win. There was like a slight thing in terms of sequencing this match that bothered me here, which I felt like it should have been rule of 3, which is he got the mitts off, then he got the shirt off, and that was the climax. And it just felt like narratively, if there was something else that had been there to protect him from the heat that had gotten ripped off in that sequence, it would have been more satisfying when the third one happened, and then that's what got him the win. But I thought that this was a really fun match. Clearly, Chasm, enjoys what he's doing with that goofiness. I can be a bit particular when it comes to a wrestler whose gimmick is that they're a little bit off the rocker. And my only concern here is that I don't know that if I saw Chasm again, I would be able to connect the through line of what his character is doing, is thinking, like what his thought process is. And I think that's a trap that a lot of people with that kind of character can fall into, where they're just kooky for the sake of being kooky. So again, this is a response to one match, not the whole character, and I worry that might happen. Not that I've seen it happen, but I thought this was a lot of fun. Todd?
Yeah, his Chasm's look is very Clockwork Orangey. I don't know if that's always like that, but for that it was good. I was like, okay, we might see a little bit of an unhingedness here, and it was less unhinged and more like comedy-ish, if that makes sense. And like I understand the whole Scorch thing, like but like it's probably more pointed towards like a younger demographic with the gimmick. So I guess that's why I didn't connect too much with it. Again, the wrestling was fine. The wrestling was great. I enjoyed that. It's just the dumb disconnect for me in my stupid head. It's just like, well, no one thinks he's actually on fire. No one thinks he's actually at the end of the day, he's a wrestler. But that's because I'm old and I'm jaded and I'm a grumpy prick. But aside from that, it was all good fun because the crowd seemed to like it.
That's the important
I would like
thing,
to see, I'd like to see a little bit more of a harder edge to Chasm, though. If you're going to come out looking like Clockwork Orange, you should be a little bit more not quite right.
Yeah, I agree.
I like this. Didn't love it. I think Chasm has that they both have room to grow their characters into something, which I think is really, really promising. In ring, it was okay. They clearly work out a bit together, and I think that shows in matches like this. I don't think there's a lot more to say. You guys have kind of said everything you need to. I agree with your Clockwork Orange assessment, Todd, in that if they are going to lead into that, he's got to be a little bit more psychopathic. He's got to be a little bit more unhinged. And I don't think that translated in ring. But it was enjoyable.
I will say that I like that Chasm has the forethought to have the branding locked down. Chasm with a 5 for the S, right? Because the other thing about Chasm is that he's a musician as well. So it's all connected. He's got the social media presence down. He's got the podcast set up. He's got the YouTube set up. So as far as that goes, it's all really unified. I think what I would maybe point to is the fact that this entire conversation that we've had about this match has kind of been about Chasm maybe leads to the fact that we would have liked to see a little more from Scorch in terms of what he was bringing to the table here. I didn't think that it was bad.
Scorch feels very much like a non-playable character.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone that I would have had to beat in 2K to get into the development, like the NXT.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's the random luchador you have to beat in one of your 3 trial matches before you start beating actual characters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. And I apologize to him if that's... I don't mean to, but it's just... Yeah.
No, and that's what... that's the point of this is... I guess I wanted to see more of what he is, rather than just...
I also think it's worth saying at this point that the SWAT team may well be Scorch and Brody Hunter. We're not going to know. So, under the masks. So we're not going to know. So you kind of got to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I think that these shows are for people to find their characters.
Oh, look, this is all being said through the viewpoint of we know that they're very young in their careers. That's what this show is. From day dot, the Mean Street Mayhem shows were always our training school shows. This is when I worked at Riot City. I think in the chat, our good friend James Cray had one of his first matches against Cree on a Mean Street Mayhem show. Okay,
and
so
think,
that's it's just what they do. It's when I'm talking about this, it's not he should ditch the character. It's just needs to work on it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think we'll see that over months. We'll see that over a number of months.
Yeah. This is not me putting an actual final judgment on the guy going,
I know,
give up this gimmick, it's stupid, you're just a computer animated character, no one's really gonna. Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
it's meant to be constructive, right? It's saying that
I
want to see more of this character. Yeah,
I'm not taking it as anything but constructive, but I'm just saying we need to give these kids the space to grow and be as much of a legend as James Cray is now. James, you can pay me the $50 later, thanks. So I think that we can sort of, and we all are. We're showing some leniency towards these guys, but I'd like to see where both of these characters go ultimately.
Yeah.
This is also nothing that I wouldn't actually say to them backstage.
No, of course.
Do you know what I mean? This is also nothing I wouldn't say to them.
Of course.
Yeah. Moving on this show, the next match was Marco Mercer and Corvidae going one-on-one in a rematch here. I really liked that commentary acknowledged that Marco Mercer is a referee in Riot City and taking that as not, these are two different people. It's, he wants to get in the ring. He wants to get reps. That's giving him the opportunity to be in front of people, to see, what high-level action looks like up close and take that into his wrestling. I like that a lot. Corvidae is a character that we've talked about before, and seeing, the connection between that character and, for me, the person that jumps out is over in the UK, and I've forgotten his name now, but who just wrestled for GCW. Cara Noir, thank you. That's the.
Oh my God, I got one.
Well done, Todd.
Holy Jesus.
And I think, having that kind of painted face, bird name character, there's clearly a Black Swan inspiration that cuts through, I think.
Thing is, Corvidae's been doing that character a version of that character for years now.
Yes.
Years.
And I like it, but like I was saying with Chasm, I would like to know what the internal consistency of logic is for that character, right? When he gets more kind of psychologically shattered, why is that? What does it lead to? Rather than just, he lost a match, so he's a little wilder now. You know what I mean? I think of a great, and here's my Lucha Underground obsession coming through. If you look at Marty the Moth from Lucha Underground, a character who was constantly doing things that don't follow through logically until you see him week after week and you go, that totally tracks for Marty. He believes this, therefore he did that. There's pure logic through it. So I would really like to, as Corvidae continues on, really see those logical paths for illogical actions, which I know is high concept, but that's how I watch wrestling. And I thought both of them were really good here, right? Marco Mercer looked like a shit kicker. Corvidae looked like a freaky dude who knew how to wrestle and turn his opponent against him. You got the nasty little finish from Corvidae, so it wasn't that clean victory. I liked it. Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think Corvidae and Marco Mercer, again, they're probably training partners a bit. They work out well together. They make each other look good. I had a lot of fun with this match. I think Corvidae winning by nefarious means kind of, put him over a little and put over that Marco was a bit of a tougher opponent. I loved it. I thought this was really a fun match, and both have room to grow, and that's always an exciting thing to see in Academy shows.
Yeah, Todd?
Yeah, I guess I focused on Marco probably a little bit more because I've known of Corvidae for, like I said, years.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a lot of potential. Like, you can see that in him. Like, as I was watching it, I'm sitting there thinking, gee, the boys don't really miss when they train guys. They really do wait till they're good to go before they put him in these sort of matches. Because he didn't look out of place at all. He didn't look like he was out of his depth. Do you know what I mean? During this match. I think he's got a lot of potential. A lot of potential. Like same with the guy we'll talk about next, because I think the next guy's got a lot of potential too.
I was going to say that this next match had maybe my most exciting prospect of the show, just personally. This was Down Under managing to get the win over Prince Apollo in just under 11 minutes. So this match took quite a long amount of time for, obviously we've got those main event, there's a 6-way match and there's Kings of Ruin in a match. So Down Under and Prince Apollo is in this earlier part of the card and taking a significant amount of time to show just how much potential Prince Apollo has. I think the look's great. I think the name's great. I think the gear is great. I've said a lot of times something that I love is when somebody's gear deteriorates over the course of a match. I love when somebody is wearing something that they lose as a match becomes more intense. Like the most common example is every time The Rock goes for a people's elbow, he loses an elbow pad. So you can see as the match gets more intense physically on a wrestler's body where they are. And seeing Prince Apollo lose some of the tassels over the course of the match, chef's kiss. Love it. I thought he had a really physical style that matched well with Down Under. I thought some of the moves, and they acknowledged it on commentary, the roll through the ropes into the side on drop kick, could have been a little sharper. But even then, it showed the skill that he's coming at in terms of execution. And we've talked about how great Down Under is more than once. I think Prince Apollo looked fantastic in this match.
Yeah, that whole thing you said with the roll through to the drop kick, that's just all about time in ring. Like the more time in the ring he'll get, that's ring positioning. Yep. He would have realized where he, give it 6 months, he'll have realized where he is and he'll just hit that properly. It's sort of like one of those things where you've been training and you're like, I always do it this way. So just instinctively you go to do it that way. And then as you've popped up, you're like, oh shit, he is so not in the right spot. But you're stuck, so you just go through and do it. Great size on the kid. A big future. He's one of those guys that I would think is probably out of the whole card of rookies we saw here, is probably the most quote unquote show ready. A little bit more polish, and I think he is pretty much good to go. The only other one I think is maybe Xavier Carter. We'll talk about that later too. But
I would agree. Great
size, a great ability. I mean, there's certain things you can see with a guy's body when you're like, okay, he is new in the sport, and give him about a year and all that stuff will tighten up and but you can't there's that saying, you can't Big Bill, you can't teach height. He's got size. He's got that look. He's got that imposing look at him. And even if he was in the ring with someone else aside from Down Under, he probably would have looked like even more of a monster against them.
Oh yeah.
If that makes sense. Again, Down Under, we always speak about how good he is. He showed it again here in this match. Just having a good match with the kid and taking him through what it takes to do a 10, 11-minute match. Because it is very different to doing a 5-minute match. And again, there's sort of breaks. It's like a 5-minute match and you got a 12-minute match. Then when you get to the 15, 20-minute matches, that's when you're in, I like to call the deep water. But bringing someone out and having them hit a 10, 11-minute match and not lose the crowd, that's a good little accomplishment for him to say. And I would think he is one of the closest to being show ready out of this whole class.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff?
The thing I like about the Prince Apollo gimmick, and let me just talk about that because we haven't really touched on it yet, is it will work as a heel and it will go gangbusters as a face. He's got great heel mannerisms and he worked well with Down Under in that. Down Under gave him space and room and let him be him while still wrestling a sensible match and wrestling a match with rhythm and pace, a little bit of psychology. And I think that this worked. I think the Prince Apollo character, as it stands now, is probably 3 months, 4 months from being ready. And it just depends on whether they want him as a heel or a face. I think, as I said, he can work either style. This match was long. but I never thought it boring, and that's a credit to both of them. I think there was a lot to like here, and I was really happy with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually not going to talk about the next match much. I'll talk about it briefly, and then we'll move on to the next match. Ricardo defeating Mr. Cliff, so Mr. Cliff getting his second match of the night. Ricardo with a nice little debut. Dragon Force is the entrance theme. It only lasted 40 seconds. Much of a muchness. Let's just move on.
Well, I mean, also, like, you also got to remember that thing he hit his Sparta kick on him before then.
Is that right? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
he hit
think
it first. Yeah,
He hit
right.
first.
Oh, he did, yeah. So Ricardo recovering from the Sparta kick into that. So, like, a lot to talk about there. But I guess
I'll skip over this because he was being a smart ass because it was only 40 seconds.
I mean, whatever. Anyway, the next match. Just go with it. The next match on the card was Ricardo defeating Mr. Cliff. Hang on, yeah, Jeff.
Before you proceed to this match, don't forget that Cliff was substituting for Grimm as well. This wasn't just Cliff going in for a second bye. He was substituting for Grimm, which is important to say.
Yeah, so Grimm delivered the Sparta kick to Ricardo and then threw Mr. Cliff into the match to be like, get a bloody win. And then he couldn't. Ricardo kicks out after having a little bit of time to recover from that Sparta kick. It's still impressive, but gets the recovery, kicks out, manages to get the win in 40 seconds. The next match, though, Ricardo versus Mr. Cliff. In Ricardo's second match of the night and Mr. Cliff's third match of the night, I thought this was a lot of fun, the way that this played out with, obviously, Ricardo got a little bit of mic time before the match. Then we have this nonsense of Mr. Cliff just desperately wanting to prove that he can get the win after it looked like Grimm was going to deliver some punishment for not being able to win even after the Sparta kick. So we go to Cliff's third match of the night where he still can't get it done and Ricardo gets the win again. I think this was a really good showing of what Ricardo can do. He got the character across. We got a big showcase
That was after a little bit of a hand from the Kings of Ruin.
Look, we saw Grimm about to get involved, and the Kings of Ruin came out and really pulled that away and distracted Cliff as well. So once again, just Cliff getting in over his head with some of this stuff and getting rolled up for a second time in one of my favorite wrestling spots, which is the classic hands and knees behind as they move backwards and fall over. The old bully trip. Love seeing that and getting the roll off that delighted me. I thought this was really good for Ricardo, who clearly has the ring work in him, but got a chance to be more character focused in this grand total of 3.5 minutes of match time. I think
his promo nearly went longer.
Yeah, I think it was put together really well. I think I'm excited to see Ricardo again based on what was here. I know that I've talked to Zach Sabbath before, and one of his pet peeves is people not having their own music because it makes it hard for getting copyright strikes on YouTube and stuff. So as much as I really enjoy the fit of Through the Fire and the Flames here, I don't want Ricardo getting outshined by it. And you can see, like, when commentary's spending time talking about your theme music, I get a bit worried that it's like, you want to be the star of the show, not the cool song that happens when you win.
But do you know what I think though? Like, I don't know what his character is. Like, he's like an Italian archer. Then why come out to that music? It's like
he's like a musketeer maybe. Like
it's just that was a disconnect for me. I'm just like, okay, like Archer comes out to random music instead of like something like Robin Hoodie, or you know what I mean, or Arrowy, or something like that.
Classical, yeah.
Yeah, I like that he didn't just go for, let's put on some loots because I'm doing something that's like an archer, right? That he did go for something a little bit different. But I would like to see the music connect more to the character because clearly the character is good.
Okay, I have a slight problem with the character myself, in that it's a mishmash of cliches. I think it would be a stronger character if one was picked. You're either an archer or you're an Italian. And I'm saying that from the perspective of commentary were saying things like,
I think
I don't even
he's
know.
actually Italian, though.
Oh, is he?
Yes,
Then
that
I
is actually
apologize.
just him.
Then
That's
I-
not
then-
he's not
not him.
Santino Marella.
Yeah, I thought he was doing a Santino.
No,
So
no, he's not
apologize.
Santino.
Thank you for clarifying that with me, Todd. I was trying not to be like negative on the kid. I was just trying to be, a little bit.
See,
Yeah,
James
thank you,
Gray,
Jason.
he is actually Italian.
He is actually Italian. I think that it's look, it's really, really good that and more people. Yes, I know.
Ah, yes.
Alex,
I love it when the crowd turns.
Alex Fiehart with a great call. Hit me with your best shot for entrance music. That's a good call. Bit of Pat Benatar. The crowd will get right behind on that. But I did like him. I think he had nice chemistry with poor Cliff. Now I am going to go out on a limb and say that I think Mr. Cliff's losing streak is probably more interesting than Goldberg's winning streak, especially towards the end there. I just hope that Cliff can somehow pin Kevin Nash.
Oh yeah.
Look, I thought this was a lot of fun. As you did, I think it's quite obvious that Grimm is enjoying this chemistry with Cliff because very quickly they've built a nice kind of inverted little dog, big dog from the Looney Tunes cartoons, where the big dog's the one who's pushing the little guy into the fight. It's really, really fun because anyone's small next to Grimm. I thought this was great, and they didn't overplay it. They played it just right, and it was nice to see.
Yeah, I fully agree. Moving on from there, and obviously there was a bit of confrontation between Kings of Ruin and Old Guard here, which continued on through the show. But the next match here was Redshaw managing to get the win over Xavier Carter. And I think that having a match as a newer wrestler against Redshaw puts you in a tough position because Redshaw is such a physically huge, dominant, like a guy with a style like Redshaw is hard to show off against and look reasonable and look like you're putting up a fight while still making Redshaw look like a beast. I think that's a very tricky needle to thread. So I think Xavier Carter did quite a commendable job.
Before you go on, I just want to answer a question because Marley Campbell has put up, what do you think of Mayhem Pro being on the NBN Now app at the start of March? Marley, it's a TV ad. The ad for Mayhem Mania is on the app. So the actual show isn't on. Yeah, it's just the TV ad for the event. Just to clear that up.
Which bloody great to get more widespread
it's still good,
advertising for pro wrestling. Like, I think that's fantastic and we need that.
Yeah.
But
I just didn't want to mislead people into thinking that they were going to be able to watch it off the app because they're not. It'll be on YouTube the way it normally is.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was just saying I was really impressed with the way Xavier Carter threaded the needle here against Redshaw and managed to look good in his offense without making Redshaw look like anything less than an absolute beast. Jeff, what did you think?
I like this so much. I mean, Todd, we started to discuss how Xavier Carter is probably a ready for primetime player. He's, if not now, he's very, very close. He had good babyface energy about him, like just pure, natural, likable babyface energy. Redshaw is so good at being evil. He really is. He's a dominating force. He's a big guy. He's a bit of a bully. And Xavier Carter being able to stand up to Redshaw made them both look great. Redshaw really got a good match out of him. Well done to him. And I thought Xavier Carter was just fantastic. This was only 4 minutes 30, but they packed so much entertainment into that 4 minutes 30. I think that they both come out looking great, and particularly Xavier Carter. It's another case of the result was a foregone conclusion, but it was amazing how good they both look in that short space of time.
Yeah, Todd?
Yeah. I think, like, Xavier's got that thing that we say you can't teach. He's got that automatic connection with the crowd when he comes out. People are just sort of, like, drawn to him. The same sort of way that Renegade has up here in Queensland, Lachlan.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really have to do much. He can just look at the crowd and they instantly go, oh, I like this kid.
Yep.
Sort of like that sort of thing. And that's going to really bode well for him moving forward in his career. Also, his ring work is really good. They obviously do like him a fair bit because even though it was only a 4.5 minute thing with Redshaw, the show, a couple of shows before, Mean Street Mayhem before, he did a spot with Chris Basso as well. So they're obviously they see something in him, and they're just going to slowly build this baby face up, and that's what like Riot City do that so very well. Like the main event shows you, because all these guys are guys that have come up being their rookies and now are pretty much mainstays or soon to be mainstays on their main roster. Okay. And like 99% of them are like baby faces that the crowd love. Like there's no like sitting on the fence with any of them. They all like the guy or they don't like the guy based on what the company want them to do, which is a really good thing to see. One thing we did miss, and I forgot to mention it when we were talking about it before. When we going back quickly to Ricardo and Mr. Cliff, and you were talking about, Jeff, you were saying that you want the crowd to eventually go,
all right, he's Italian.
Like you want the crowd to go, like, stand up for yourself, blah blah blah. I kind of like, I don't know if you heard it, but someone in the crowd was just like, kick him out already. Sort of going the opposite way.
No, like I think the majority of that crowd were going, this is hilarious. He's clearly.
Oh, they have, but what I'm saying is that they haven't yet built that heat to have him stand up for himself, and it's almost going to the point now it's getting too much. Whereas, like, he's got to show a little bit of a sign of.
I don't agree.
I think that when you've got a kind of an RCW crowd, this is a crowd who gets to watch RCW, which is one of the straight-up best promotions in Australia. Like, we have a lot of great promotions, and RCW is in that upper echelon, right? And RCW put on a lot of good shows. It's the kind of company where it's not like, I love Pro Wrestling League up here. I think Pro Wrestling League's putting on 5 shows this year. That's not what Riot City do. They're more the PWA model of, we've got a show this week, we've got another show in 2 weeks' time. During the Fringe, we're going to have 6 shows. It's that kind of schedule. So when you've got fans there, they kind of have seen enough wrestling to go, the story is going to be that they're going to kick out Mr. Cliff because he can't win, and that's when Mr. Cliff's going to go, I've had it with you guys, and he's going to start fighting them, and his win comes at the end of that story against what my guess is probably Grim, right? He gets to come out and be the underdog and show that he can win against a huge force. I think the kick him out already was more for let's progress the story rather than get rid of the loser.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and a story like this needs to be told really deliberately. They cannot rush it because otherwise the crowd will be underwhelmed by it. They want that pop to be fucking massive, like blow the roof off, incredibly big, make a lot of videos from it, make YouTube content from it, make Instagram content from it, of the crowd just going nuts. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And I think let them tell their story. Let them take their time. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So, shout out for the Mr. Cliff story there. Shout out for the Xavier Carter performance here. And moving on to tag team action with Mike Boomer and Zach Sabbath representing the Kings of Ruin, taking on Aaron Only and the debuting Haley Hendricks, who very clearly a match built around Haley Hendricks, coming out here. Obviously, we've seen the Kings of Ruin do excellent work. We've seen Aaron Only do a lot of really exciting stuff. And I was very impressed by how well Hendricks and Only worked as a team and how the Kings of Ruin were able to take punishment from Hendricks without ever looking like chumps, right? They're an established tag team who know what they're doing. And that, that can lead to when they get beaten up by someone who is small and new, it can make, it has the chance to make people look weaker than they are. And it didn't here. It made Hayley Hendricks look like somebody who is on the path to being a big threat in terms of Riot City. What did you think of this one, Todd?
If this was me booking the show, I think this match would have been on earlier in the card. Just because of, I think she has a lot of potential, and she looks like she has a lot of, like, there's a lot of upside with her, but she's still really green.
Yeah.
Like, possibly like one of the more greener workers on this card. So I might have put this match a little earlier just to get it, like, out of the way, if you know what I mean, early in the show. What, Jeff? You've got that look like you need a poo. What's wrong, mate?
I don't agree with you. I really don't.
Well, you don't? Go back and watch the match.
A, I don't need to poo. And B, I don't agree with you. And the reason I don't agree with you is because this was a match that was about telling the story that stemmed from the Mr. Cliff match into this match and then into the main event.
No, I understand where it was, like, why it was that placed. But I'm saying if you're going to have her in this match, in the time in ring that she's had, because this was her debut match, I probably would have moved it to earlier in the show. And that's all.
The other reason I don't agree with you is the crowd were very, very, very hot for her, and it would have been tough to follow her. Unless it was before the...
Well, they did with the main.
Yeah, but I mean, look who's in the main. The main are all, made and on the main roster. So I agree with it being exactly where it is. I think it's in the perfect spot, Todd.
I definitely don't disagree with what Todd's saying. Like, in terms of ring work, you could tell that, like, look what we were saying about Prince Apollo and Marco Mercer and those kinds of people. Very clearly, in terms of ring work, those people have got the edge. And if you want to have it build up to the best in-ring work, I do think that Hayley Hendricks goes on earlier in the card. But I also think that the sequencing of the show isn't always... And Todd's great at sequencing a show, don't get me wrong. I like the way this played out to give us something different before the big barn burner at the end. Right?
Mm-hmm. To be like completely clear too, I think she's got a lot of talent. I think there is something definitely there. I see a very, like, there's very Alexa Blissy.
Yep.
I see about her. But
you weren't saying otherwise. You absolutely were not saying anything to the contrary.
No.
It's very, she just needed more work before she was in that spot of the card, is all I'm saying. This is not a shot against her. It's not a shot against the guy. I'm just saying, for me, that's just where I would have had it, because I can, being that I've watched so much wrestling and I've been around developing wrestlers for so long, I can see the little things where, like, all right, she's frozen here a little bit. Oh, she missed that. She's done, and there's nothing against it. First match. Jeez, everyone, like, God, my practice matches were the absolute shits. The ones I do now are the absolute shits.
I was going to say it.
Yeah. But it's like, you can tell the more you work, the better it gets. The more reps. And aside from that, like Sabbath and Boomer, they're fucking Australian wrestling staples. They're fucking great. Aaron Only has got a lot of talent in him. I know he's not very long in the business, but he's clearly another one who is show ready. If he's not already, like, a lot of their shows, he's definitely show ready. The crowd are always going to get behind Hayley because she's got the look. She's got the look that the crowd are going to get behind, like, irregardless.
Booking question for you here, Todd. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Is there a part of you that thinks a better tag team for Only and Hendricks to go against is a version of the Kings of Ruin that includes Mickey Fortune and make it a more traditional mixed tag?
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I would have put it early in the night and just had Mickey and Hayley. Zach and Only, or Boomer and Only later on in the match. I understand that they needed a tag team match in it to mix up the card,
I don't think that's a terrible call. On the surface, I just want to say it's really good that Riot City put faith in Hayley, and we're going to put you in there with 3 amazing people, and they will help you as much as they can. And she still came out looking great. Like, she still looks great.
I have zero problem with the match. It was just the match placement.
Yeah, but like I said, it's to build that story which sells tickets to Fringe. It makes sense from that.
I understand that, but you don't think they could have built that story after the Ricardo thing?
I liked them doing the Ricardo thing, the break with Redshaw and Xavier, and then.
But you know what I mean. It would have been different because they would have been earlier in the match. It would have been earlier in the show. It would have been different. This is what I'm saying. They could have done it the other way easily.
Yeah, maybe.
Literally, that is my only issue with that match was the placement of it.
But I think Hayley has a huge upside. I think she's away from being on the main roster. It won't be next week.
Very much so.
I think that she's got a huge upside, and we need to just see how she plays out. I think once she gets the timing.
I'm not saying anything. Like, I think she's got she's got great movement. Her the chain wrestling she was doing at the start was very clean. Really? It was very good. There's just those like Cree always says at training is the 1%ers. Yeah. The timing. There's certain things, and it happens. It's reps.
Footwork and positioning were the things that I picked up on, but not to a point where I went, "Oh, well, she's fucked the match," because she never did. She kept her end really, really nicely. She was in there with 3 pros who clearly helped her out a fair bit, but really, really nice to see. The crowd were buzzing about her, and I think that is a really, really good indication. It helps that she's a very attractive young lady, but I think that, as you say, very Alexa Bliss, got that kind of fun, funky energy Alexa had when she first debuted back in NXT with the cheerleader gimmick. I think Hayley's got a lot of upside, and it'll be interesting to see where they take her.
I don't think she has a cheerleader gimmick. I think she was a cheerleader, and now she's a wrestler. She literally was a... Yeah, no, Hayley. Literally was a cheerleader and has gone into pro wrestling from that.
Yeah, great. That means that all of those 1% things, she'll get them because she's got that natural coordination and the natural teamwork coordination necessary to be really good with wrestling. I thought this was great. I had no problem with anything on this show, and it's nice to see.
And just quickly while we are, on this topic, it's worth mentioning that the quality of women's wrestlers that RCW puts on is insanely high. And I'm even just talking about the Violet Blitzers and the Ambers and the Mickey Fortunes of the world, even before you go off to the people who've left.
I was going to say,
right?
No one gets signed from RCW, so...
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, after this match, though, with the Kings of Ruin managing to get the win and then celebrating their opponents in Only and Hayley Hendricks, of course, the Old Guard had to make their presence known, and old mate from the commentary table, the muscle mercenary Dean Brady, came in with a chair to try and smack the Kings of Ruin from behind, but ended up just walloping Mr. Cliff in the face with it in a moment that was just perfect. Like, that's exactly what this story is, right? Dean tries to attack the Kings of Ruin from behind with a chair and he smacks Mr. Cliff. That's this story boiled down to its pure essence. And it led to a confrontation between the two teams where GM Big Brody Marshall set the stipulation that in the lead up to the 4-on-4 match at King of the Fringe, that if either of these teams initiated conflict, there would be titles stripped. If the Kings of Ruin tried to attack the Old Guard, then Zach Sabbath would lose his Emerald Crown title and the Kings of Ruin would lose the tag titles. And if the Old Guard attacked the Kings of Ruin, then Chris Basso would lose his RCW championship. So a really clever way to keep these teams apart without just going, oh, and you're fired if you touch each other, right? Like, it's genuinely, there is a reason for these guys to try and egg the other team on, but not to initiate anything themselves, which it
raises the stakes as well. It makes the match that much more interesting because they're gonna keep them away at the first couple of fringe shows. I love it.
And you know that it's going to keep boiling over those shows.
Yeah, it was lit. That part of the show was literally the only part of the show I'm like, well, they could have edited that bit out. Because they all left the ring early, and obviously they got the Iggy, like, get back in the ring, we've got the spot, remember? Oh, shit. All right, let's get back in the ring and celebrate. Like, that could have easily been, like, edited out.
Yeah.
For that purpose. But it's not like I said, aside from that, they're one of the best productions in the country. Like, they easily rival, like, PWA, MCW, when it comes to production of their shows. That, to me, was like, when I saw that, I'm like, that looked like one of those house show things where they're like, go back and do the finish again. You missed it. Oh, okay. Hands up again. Woo!
But I think that goes to show, like, we talk about how good the production is, and that comes down to where it's being filmed from, how it's being filmed, what's being recorded and layered over the top. I actually don't think there's all that much editing going into the footage that we see. There's shows
I think it might be live switched.
Quickly. Like, that's the thing. If they just go and switch it to the commentary desk camera and switch it back to the hard cam now, like, if that's all they're doing, we're just seeing what happened, right? So, absolute credit there. Moving on, though, to our main event, a 6-way scramble match to qualify for the King of the Fringe. This one had Banjo Powers, James Cray, Kai Toa, Rocco Reed, Snacks, and Vincent Di Maria. There are a lot of things I liked in this match. I might pass it to Jeff to kick off so that I don't just stamp on anything he has to say when going through my laundry list of praise.
I think this was terrific. I think, firstly, the character work, and each person in this match had a definitive character, and they all got moments to shine. That is fantastic to see. I think that Banjo Powers gets better and better every time I see him, and he is a star in Riot City right now. I think James Cray is probably the greatest wrestler Australia has ever seen. James, that's $150 now.
You
Please
suck up.
Of 200 if you're still in the chat. If you're not, James Cray, he did all right. No, James was great. Rocco Reed had so much heat on him, and he was the newest person within the context of the match. And the crowd just ate up everything he was doing. And that's the credit to everybody else in the match who played into what Rocco Reed was doing. Snacks and Vincent Di Maria. I laughed at that because James just told me he will not be paying for me telling lies. James. Snacks and Vincent Di Maria. Of course, they've tagged a little bit together, so they had some nice tag moments as well as some nice, shock opposition moments. I loved it. I think this was almost 10 minutes, really, really well spent.
Still one of my favorite tag team names. That could be the move. I love that as a tag team name. Love that. Love that as a tag team. You know that I'm not massively a fan of these types of matches just because it's very spot. But they worked it out quite well, where it wasn't overly, now it's your dive, now it's her dive, now it's his dive, now it's his spot, now it's their spot. Now they sort of like they teased Kaito's dive to the point where when Kaito hit it, it was pretty much like out of nowhere because you did not see that one coming when it eventually happened.
So it went over.
You didn't.
Rocco Reed, yeah,
you didn't see it happening, which I really like. It was funny because at the start of the match, I was a bit like, oh, why have they've basically just really gotten this tag team together, Snacks and Vinny. Why are they doing this? But then, like, during it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I kind of get it. It's for King of the Fringe. It's a totally different thing. But I really enjoyed this match. It could have went a little bit longer than the 10 minutes they got. But, yeah, Kaito going over. I'm happy with that because, you know me, I'm a big fan of Kaito. I think he's got a big future, even though he stole Roberto's pose. But we won't go into that. I'm joking, by the way, just quietly.
Well, Kaito is a true Italian stop.
Yeah, Banjo Powers is great. James, as always, I like the fact that there was all these guys, and the majority of them high flyer-ish, and then you've got like the groundwork of James, mixed it up like the harder style of James. I enjoy that mixture of styles in the match because it brought something different to it. It's not everyone trying to do a 630. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got this guy who's just going to put his knee in your face, and that's what he does, or a headbutt.
And
so
having
I
someone
enjoyed it.
like the size of James, or the build of James, I should say, who's just ready to catch those big moves, I think makes them all that much more spectacular because you get to see them land. It's not just little guys flying around at each other. It's little guys flying around and seeing what it's like when they hit someone with the meat of Cray. I love that stuff. And
also the fact that and it weirds me out saying this, having the veteran in there of James to sort of like steer the ship, if you will. And again, it weirds me out for saying this just because I remember when he was fresh off the boat type of deal. So for me to turn around and go, have a veteran in James now, just freaks me out. But it was good. It was good to see him. Like it felt like he was the steady hand in the match, if that makes sense.
I wanted to say there's a bunch of things that I absolutely loved. One of them was everybody making sure that Rocco Reed took a bunch of punishment because clearly, the crowd wanted to see that. And so the baby faces sharing that opinion and, pulling him in the way of the big chops and stuff. Love it. It makes the wrestlers feel like humans who are involved in this and want the same things that normal people want. Love it. On top of, speaking exactly of that, seeing CBTM come in and Snacks and Vinny working together but also working against each other makes sense because they're not just a tag team. They are two guys who want to be successful. Obviously, they both want to be in the King of the Fringe, right? That's a big move. And they would rather see their tag team partner win it than some random. So they are going to help each other, but they are going to work against each other as well. I love when booking makes sense for what a professional wrestler does and what pro wrestlers want to do to be successful. I think that's fantastic booking. I really like that there was the element of Bob, the bitter old bastard, coming in and costing James Cray the ability to save the match, meaning that Kaitoa won when it seems like the person that Bob wants to get his hands on is Kaitoa. And so maybe he's looking to do that at King of the Fringe on a bigger stage. So there's some intrigue there about exactly why he did it, but also letting Kaitoa get that spectacular win with the 054, which is such a cool move. I absolutely love that move. Just getting.
I also like the fact that like you said, they listened to the crowd and said, okay, this crowd really doesn't like Rocco. Let's focus our stuff on him, making it so that they just weren't all in the back going, okay, this is this spot, and we're going to go to this spot, and then we're going to this spot. They actually stopped and listened to the crowd and gave them a little bit of what they wanted to hear or what they wanted to see, which is a mark of good workers, a mark of good training.
Yeah,
whoever is training them at Riot City is clearly doing a good job because these guys, and that includes Rocco Reed, and that was the first time I'd seen Rocco really know, to paraphrase Dwayne, know their roles and play them well and really, clearly enjoy being in those roles. I thought this was great.
Yeah, this is one of those matches where if you're going to be putting on a 6-person scramble match, I'm not necessarily excited for it because those often end up in just pure chaos that doesn't mean anything. This is what I want to see out of a 6-person scramble match. This is the gold standard. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. And it's fantastic to be able to see wrestling this good around the country, right? Riot City aren't the only people putting it on. There's great wrestling all around Australia, which I'll talk about in a second. Before we do we want to say anything more about overall this really solid show, RCW Summer Sizzler?
Well, tell them that they can actually watch them themselves, mate. You skipped over your normal.
Where can we see this?
Your normal little.
And how much does it cost?
Sorry, is it like it's on YouTube for free? Is that what you want me to say? That this is free on YouTube?
Yeah, it's kind of your shtick. It's like you got to remember to do. If there's one thing I don't like is when people forget what the name of the show is,
who
and B,
do that?
it's some jerk, And B,
Never. Lachlan, did you forget the name of the show?
I don't think I forgot the name of the show.
no, you might have got the name of the show. You forgot the biggest segment in the show.
Oh, I do
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Which is the name of the show. Yeah.
Fryax,
I'm forgetting my gimmick.
Fryax for loving Wrestling Radio, Wrestling Australia Radio. Thank you so much, Fryax. We love having you.
Connor, you bastard. Okay, look, if you want to watch this show, and why wouldn't you, after the way we've just talked about it, it is for free on YouTube. Head on over to YouTube, search for Riot City Wrestling. You won't just find RCW Summer Sizzler. You will find a treasure trove of fantastic wrestling coming out of Adelaide, especially over the course of the Adelaide Fringe this month and next month, because they put a lot of work in over the course of the Fringe. And we mentioned just before, if you're in Adelaide, absolutely get amongst it, because you've got things like A Night to Remember, which is happening tomorrow night that the RCW crew are a part of. But if you're not in Adelaide, head on over to their YouTube channel, search for Riot City Wrestling on YouTube. You'll find this stuff for free, and you can just watch it to your heart's content, because it is really fantastic Aussie pro wrestling. And speaking of Aussie pro wrestling, Oz Pro Wrestling is going to have an event called Reaching for the Brass Ring at the Ringwood Community Centre on Sunday, March 2nd. At the Central Ringwood Community Centre. And that's got a stacked card. It's got Ricky D. Boom versus Amp Cather. It's got Funtime Phil versus Kai Toa. It's got Aisha versus Charlie Rose. Nate Hunter versus JJ Furno. Bush Kelly versus Cutthroat Hector Jones. Owen Stedman / Gore and Breakfast versus Tommy Hellfire and the Black Diamonds, as well as the OPW Women's Championship on the line with Erica Reed defending against Tessa Armstrong. Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing. This is family-friendly Gore.
Of course.
Which of course we did say a few things about last week. Last time when we spoke about Oz Pro Wrestling, I'm going to make the drive out to Ringwood, which from my place
You just say Gore knows. You talk terribly about him. I can't believe that.
I said
the awful things you said about Gore.
Yeah, you said some terrible stuff about Gore.
About my very best friend.
If I was Gore, I'd be offended.
Yeah, because when I was talking to it this week to Crackers, and he was kind of shocked as well, because he hadn't heard the show, and I was like, wow, he talked a lot of shit about it, mate, just so you know.
I like the way Lachlan's trying to dive in on this, like he hasn't offended Edward Dust to the point where he's going to have that shirt tattooed on him to make amends.
I'm just a fan of this professional wrestler. I don't know what you're talking about.
And by the way, don't try and pivot here, Jeff. Because I can actually...
However,
I can see the twitching.
I'm so looking forward to this show. I think this is going to be an absolute banger. Top to bottom, a really good card, some good young talent. Personally, I'm very intrigued by Aisha against Charlie Rose. I'm a fan of both of them, as you boys know, and I think that is going to be one fantastic match with two terrific up-and-coming wrestlers. That'll be great.
I mean, you want to talk up-and-coming wrestlers, you've got Nate Hunter versus JJ Furno. Like, talk about, this is what the main events are going to look like in Melbourne in 2 years' time. Get ready for it.
Yeah. Also, the fact that we've got, Owen Stedman and Gore and Breakfast, which will make an intriguing team, against Tommy Hellfire and the Black Diamonds. And the Black Diamonds race held down there in PCW. And, Tommy's a legend. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun when Crackers eventually arrives, because I think Tommy against Crackers is probably writ large in his lordship's plans, and I think that'll be a lot of fun.
I also think that Owen Stedman is going to be the best kept secret in Australian wrestling for as long as people don't pay attention to him. So, and Alex Fireheart says, shout out to JJ Furno for its upcoming DDT bookings. Hell yeah. But that's not the only thing coming up in Victoria, in fact, because there are two other stacked shows coming up in Victoria very soon. On Sunday, the 9th of March at the Northcote Theatre, You've got Renegades of Wrestling, We Are Renegades. Doors at 6, bells at 7. It's family friendly. You've got the Renegades Rumble, which we're going to hear competitors for at some point soon. Then you've got matches like Rapid Fire versus Highlight versus The Ambush. Not only that, the Renegades of Wrestling World Championship's going to be on the line with Levi Nixon defending against Mitch Waterman. Very exciting now that Emin has been ousted as the leader of The Ambush by Levi Nixon, who did that savage attack after the Super Show. Levi's got to defend that title against Mitch Waterman, who has been just plowing through The Ambush. But that's all, breeze in the wind when compared to what is presumably the main event, with Aisha, the Renegades of Wrestling Women's Champion, who at the Super Show declared that nobody had been able to challenge her for that title, and Indy Hartwell appeared on the screen to lay down the challenge. Aisha versus Indy Hartwell. Don't miss Indy Hartwell's return to Australian wrestling at Renegades on the 9th of March at the Northcote Theatre.
There is something that's not on the schedule, and that is on the 8th of March, the night before, out there in Bacchus Marsh at the Bacchus Marsh Public Hall, bell time of 7 p.m. Mayhem Mania 2 is on with our friends from Mayhem Pro Wrestling. We've got, obviously, some fantastic matches to be announced, and there is a great piece of production, which is the story of the cycle versus the prehistoric Death Cult and JXT, which of course is getting more and more and more intriguing. One match that's been announced so far from Mayhem Mania 2, amongst everything else, is a dog collar match of JXT against Aaron, the former
Sid Parker.
Sid Parker, thank you. This is intriguing. This is going to be fantastic. And believe it or not, I'm making it out to Mayhem Pro Wrestling as well. And I'm going to talk to some people. We're going to cut some interviews with that. I've got a mate of mine who doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be filming for me. And we're going to have some fun with that. I think this is going to be such an intriguing card and such an intriguing match. So far, of course, we've also got Jab against Erica Reed on that card, and
that's the match right there. That's
the money.
That's the money match. That's probably going to be a main event. And the Renegades of Wrestling World's Championship will be defended by Levi Nixon against Scotty Roach. So top to bottom, that is going to be one hell of a show. And they will also be crowning their first ever Mayhem Pro Tag Team Champions.
Come on, the physicals. Come on, the physical.
Just quickly, while we're talking Mayhem Mania, I wanted to touch on, I know I spoke the other week about how I thought that story with the names being changed was, a reference to colonialism and that kind of stuff, and there was kind of like Lachlan's classic overthinking. I actually talked to someone over the Super Show weekend who said that they agreed that is like explicitly what the story is about. And the person I spoke to was Erica Reed. So take that how you will, but I'm just saying, once again, Lachlan right. Moving on.
No. Leave with the once again, just put the once. Don't put the again.
Once, because Chelsea Green's not winning the US Championship.
And Cody is a heel.
I won't be at Renegades, unfortunately, and I won't be at MCW, because obviously I'll be in Adelaide for something or another.
MCW? You mean MCW Anniversary, which is on March 15th at the Thornbury Theatre, with tickets on sale now at mcwtix.com.au? Is that the one you're talking about? The one that's going to have the six-man scramble with Kobe Reed and Lucky O'Leary and 13 and Ant Carter and Owen Stedman and Clydesdale?
Mm-hmm, that's the one.
And the tag team tournament match that has the Natural Classics against Ryan Rapid and Mitch Waterman?
Yeah.
And it's also got the Intercommonwealth title match where Robbie Thorpe's going to be up against Adam Brooks. And the MCW World Championship with Ricky South and Edward Dusk and Caveman Up.
He managed to edit it out. Yeah. That's the show. I'm not going to be there. And it's also got Erica Reed against help me guys. Kingsley's
No, because it's more fun watching you having that look on your face.
Okay, so don't.
Come on, what's her name?
No.
Kingsley's tag team partner.
Thank you.
There you go.
Got it.
It was going to come to me.
So was Christmas.
Okay, yeah, fine. That's also on there as well. It's going to be a great show, top to bottom. I'm so disappointed and happy simultaneously. I wish I could clone myself, but I can't. So, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
MCW anniversary, get your tickets now.
By the way, not to just shill Edward Dusk the whole time, trying to be in his good books, but that promo that he cut specifically on Ricky South in the lead up to this match for the MCW World Championship, and I had to comment. I know with Edward Dusk, the storytelling is always so strong, and the opportunity for him to overlook UGG for this feud with South and not win the title because of that it's delicious to me. It's exactly what I want out of pro wrestling. So I'm going to have my eyes on that. But that's not for a couple of weeks' time. That's not until the 15th of March. In the right here, right now, we've got a weekend coming up that's packed with Aussie wrestling, no matter where you are in the country. So if you're in the ACT... Oh, by the way, Michael Lee, what an absolute legend at the Australian Wrestling Community Facebook page. Big shout out to him, as always, for providing this list. That kicks off with the ACT. If you're in Canberra this Saturday, March 1st, Lucha Fantastica's got Love Battle Canberra. In New South Wales, Newcastle Pro Wrestling's got Fight Night 118 on March 1st. Also on March 1st here in Queensland, we have four wrestling shows competing with the Board Game Barbecue Games Day, which is what I'm going to be busy with at the time. Jeepers creepers. If you're in Rockhampton, Wrestling Allegiance has Ghost Town on March 1st. Atomic Pro Wrestling, where I would normally be in Toowoomba on March 1st, has Act 2. You've got UPW in Fortitude Valley on March 1st. And you've also got Queensland Wrestling
That's where I'll be, brother.
That's where you'll be, because you've got Mitch Ryder versus Jesse Love round 2. Is that correct?
Yes. We don't lose twice. 21.
I've been told that. I'm not sure that I believe it, especially with Jazzy on the outside, who you can get a pro wrestling trading card now for if you head on over to Oz Pro Wrestling. I can't remember what they're called. Pario Magazine. Go to Pario Magazine, get the trading cards. And
sorry,
QWA.
Jamie.
Jamie, I'm so sorry.
I tried to do it while I was on a roll. It was silly of me. Ozrest cards, get amongst it. QWA up north has Tropical Rumble, and QWA always such fantastic stuff. After their last show, had to get a range. Ooh, what are those, Jeff?
Ozrest cards.
After QWA had to delay their last show, I'm sure Tropical Rumble is going to be absolutely on fire. Meanwhile, RCW that we were just talking about, they're still doing Fringe stuff with Big Top Beatdown as part of Fringe Mania on Saturday, March 1st. In Victoria, Battle Championship Wrestling has BCW 62 tomorrow night, Friday, February 28th. Meanwhile...
That's with PCO, I think. PCO's on that show?
I believe that's correct.
PCO against Crackerjack and Brian Kendrick. Also making it.
Insanity.
I didn't know.
And then... on Sunday, where Jeff is going to be, as we talked about, is Oz Pro Wrestling's Reaching for the Brass Ring. And over in Western Australia, there's wrestling too. New Horizons Pro Wrestling has Frio Mayhem, High Noon and After Dark on Saturday, March 1st. And also Saturday, March 1st is Southern Territory Wrestling's In Your Town, Northam. So get amongst Australian Pro Wrestling, no matter where you are in the country. And as part of getting amongst Australian Pro Wrestling, just make sure you get along to Wrestle Radio Australia, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, get amongst it. Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges says, I don't even know his name, but last week I forgot to shout out PWL's ring announcer. God damn, he's good. He really added to the Super Show. Seb is an absolute master. Bastion James, what an absolute legend. Can't shout him out enough.
But I believe there's trouble with the edit because the play-by-play guy's so shit.
Just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Well, that's also Seb, mate.
No, not him. Not him.
Oh, okay.
No.
You're going to tell me that was cool.
No, I just assumed that Jeff was talking about Old Mate.
Yeah, I'm talking about...
Oh, really?
No, I'm talking about Lachlan.
No, on commentary for the Super Show. Oh, you didn't mean Chris Dink? That's okay.
Show.
That's okay. It was Chris Dink who was terrible, obviously.
What a...
We've got a lot more to talk about, and clearly we are in a good mood, so you are not going to want to miss it. We'll be back to talk about everything going on around the world of professional wrestling right after this.
And we've got some stuff from Oz Pro Wrestling this weekend, guys, coming back in about 5 minutes. See you then.
What's that?
WrestleBrania will debut for the 2025 Adelaide Fringe Festival at Arthur's Art Bar And we are extra excited to announce that we'll be partnering with Riot City Wrestling. We've got 4 big shows, 4 different lineups with comedians from the festival and wrestlers from Riot City. On Friday the 14th, we have Grim Basso versus Mickey Fortune. Saturday the 15th, Dean Brady takes on a surprise opponent. On Sunday the 16th of March, we have Mr. Cliff versus Banjo Powers. And on Monday the 17th of March, our final show, Richard Guda will take on Down Under. WrestleBrania for the 2025 Adelaide Fringe Festival at Arthur's Art Bar. What are you doing already? Get your ass there, buddy!
Ben, breakfast residence breakfast speaking.
Oh, hey, what's going on, breakfast? It's your good mate, Snuff Daddy Gore here. Don't you worry, I'm also family friendly, mate. What's going on, boy?
Gore, I thought you got kicked out, mate. What the hell?
Yeah, don't worry about that, son. Don't worry about that, son. Look, I just spoke to the man at Oz Pro Wrestling. Yeah, he said, all's forgiven, mate. You can come back in anytime you like, but keep it family friendly, yeah?
Look, Gore, now's not the right time. Benny's broken his arm.
Right, so I gave him that. Hot shake in a hand dog. We were off to the races, son. All right, now, listen. I heard your boy, Ben. Yeah, he's broken his shoulder, done himself a mischief. But don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'm here to take his spot and take us both to the top, yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
Look, I know you're a bit worried about tagging with me because I'm so fantastic at just wrestling people and doing the family-friendly gimmick, right? But listen, before you say yes, just know that if you dare say no, I'm going to take Ben's other shoulder. I'm going to break it. I'm going to beat him to death with it. Then I'm going to make you eat it. All right? And it's going to be the best breakfast you'll ever have.
2024. It was meant to be my year. The year that I accomplished everything that I wanted to do. I had dreams, I had goals, and I had ambition. But in one split second, I lost everything. You see, I lost everything. From the lights to the ring, from the crowd. And in that moment, I lost myself. And I lost the thing that I loved most. Sitting on the sidelines for over a year, I thought to myself, is it worth it? And in my head I said, no, it's not worth it. I got stuck wearing this stupid knee brace. For months, for weeks, days in, days out, sitting on the couch. I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't work, I couldn't pay bills. Hell, my family had to see me go through hell just because I wanted to do pro wrestling. And I thought, is it worth it? No, but it will be. It will be worth it when I accomplish what I want to accomplish. It will be worth it when I'm wrestling on big stages, when I'm wrestling on the other side of the world. It will be worth it. So with that mindset, with that attitude, I wasn't going to let a knee brace stop me. I wasn't going to let a knee injury stop me. Nah. That just meant it's time to come back bigger, come back stronger. I'm not sitting on the sidelines anymore. I'm coming back with an attitude, and I'm coming back to take what's mine. I'm going to accomplish whatever I want. So Oz Pro, this is a warning, not only to you, but to every single person in the locker room. I don't care who you are, whether you're Tommy Hellfire or hell, whether you're Ryan Rapid. If you're in my way, I'm taking you down. JJ Ferno is back in 2025. This is my year. This is the tour of redemption.
Hey guys, hello Melbourne. WrestleBrania is coming back.
Renegades of Wrestling presents WrestleBrania at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival 2025.
Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Join us at the Burgee Band Room, Sydney Road, Brunswick on the 30th of March, the 6th of April, and the 13th of April.
And get your tickets at WrestleBrania at the Comedy Festival right now.
Tickets are on sale now. Buy ticket.
Make sure you get your tickets to it, because otherwise Mama's going to be disappointed in you.
Wrestlers, comedians, laughter and action.
We had a blast in here too.
Buy tickets now.
Now don't sit in your couches. Go get your tickets right now. So hurry up or be a little loser and sit at home.
Be there.
Be there.
Or else.
Or else.
I love that.
Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad here at Wrestle Radio Australia. A quick shout out to wrestlers. I love the subtitles that are going on your promos, but please spell check them before you put them up, because AI doesn't know how to spell your last name. Now, we had a comment in the chat just then from Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges, who said, Todd, before the AEW show, you said there were a bunch of stories about the shit show organization. Are there any pretty harmless ones you can tell in light of it being a success? I think Jeff heard one of these stories.
Yeah, they booked 5-star Flash. Keep going.
Oh, goodness. Todd.
That was it?
That's it.
That was the one? You've been building up for that? Jesus.
That'll be gold, Toddy. Gotta shine it up good. I didn't
because
because
if he'd have been booked, the show wouldn't have happened at all. It would have been advertised, but then look, most of the stuff that I was talking about had a lot to do with the biggest controversy coming out of it. and let's just say the comment that I can't remember what his name is now from AEW made about it had been organised months in advance. There's a little bit of mayo on that story. I guess that's as nice as I can be about it. So, yeah. Believe I know, because I knew from a lot of sources about it.
Work is going to work.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much.
If there's one place if there's one industry you can trust where people will give you their version of the story, it's wrestling. So as much as we spoke recently about how that was not a big deal, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff were very interesting. Moving on, though. When
Put it this way, it wasn't months in advance.
Okay. Let's talk about AEW, and let's, just jump in. Ryan Nemeth has filed a lawsuit against AEW, Tony Khan, and CM Punk. Gist of the case is that Nemeth accuses CM Punk, listed as Phil Brooks, his real name, of assaulting Nemeth in the locker room. Nemeth claims that AEW thereafter benched him at CM Punk's request. Nemeth contends that after CM Punk left AEW for the WWE, the defendant attempted to blackball Nemeth from professional wrestling. From paragraph 41 of the complaint obtained by Fightful, Tony Khan blames Nemeth for Brooks leaving AEW and has used his significant resources to make sure that Nemeth can never again make a living in wrestling. Now, Jeff, I know you're an absolute diehard Ryan Nemeth fan. What do you think of this lawsuit?
I think there's it's so hard to know because it is a legal matter. So obviously you cannot say a lot because even though we're just a podcast here, things can be heard, things can be picked up, and you need to tread carefully. But there's a lot of gaps in what is commonly known by wrestlers in this specific lawsuit, and it will be interesting to see how it's played out, if it gets to court, etc., etc.
Todd?
The fact that Nemeth thinks that Tony Khan is mad at him because he's the reason why he had to fire CM Punk. Wow. You know what I mean? Wow. There's a whole other guy, a whole other Jungle Boy that could have been the reason why he got friggin' fired. Not you half a sawn off. Look, the problem is that he's going to say, look, Tony Khan has used his significant resources to make sure I can never make a living in wrestling again. And they're just going to go, okay, mate, you're on TNA last month.
Yep.
You were on World Series Wrestling. You're on this. You're on that. Like, what's stopping him from making a living in professional wrestling is him.
Are we Are we doing news or anyway?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, let's
it's true. Like it's true. Like it's the equivalent of fucking Fuego del Sol saying the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Tony Khan's not blackballing Fuego del Sol. He's not blackballing fucking Ryan Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth just isn't as good as his brother. It's a fucking sad fact. There are millions of professional wrestlers in this world, and you have to stand out. And I'm sorry, but he doesn't to me. Not to me anyway. I don't know about you guys, but to me, he's like another creator wrestler before you actually put the character in them.
I like Ryan Nemeth. I think he's good.
I think he's solid in ring. I think he is not as captivating as his brother, and I think that's something that he possibly has an issue with himself.
I think he is the answer to when people say when WWE when he got let go from WWE and then got picked up by AEW, everyone's going, well, now you're going to see how good this guy is. He's the answer to that question. The answer to the question is maybe sometimes guys get released not because they're just getting released, but they just didn't, like WWE didn't think they had it. He had a whole new opportunity somewhere else and proved the same thing again. Sometimes it's not the company, sometimes it's the person.
Yep, absolutely.
Unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but he wasn't held back. He wasn't fucking thing. As far as I can recall, he still made all of his money while he was fucking sitting at home.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, moving on while we talk about AEW, we are just away. It's going to be about a week. It's a week from Sunday, right? I couldn't make a sentence there. We are just over 1 week away from AEW Revolution. My God, I haven't hosted a podcast in a long time. I haven't had a functional computer, and it's weighing on me. I've got the ring rust going on. Revolution's coming. That's what I mean to say. The Revolution will be televised on Sunday, March 9th, and the card currently has 5 announced matches, which means that for every one of the next 9 days, we are going to get another match announcement. That's exciting. It's going to have AEW World Champion Jon Moxley defending his title against Cope. It's going to have the International Champion Konosuke Takeshita defending against Kenny Omega. Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher going to be in a steel cage match. We've got Swerve versus Ricochet in a number 1 contenders match, and a TBA opponent is going to get, everyone do it with me, 5 big booms. Boom, 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 boom! Big Boom AJ once again returning to an AEW ring. I know that that's the match we are all over the moon excited for. Leave your Takeshita Omega title matches. Leave your Fletcher Ospreay cage matches. We want to see the Rizzler.
You got more love when you called the awards last year the Chickies, let me tell you that much. Look, yes, there'll be another 30 matches added. We'll probably see Mercedes Moné against Watanabe. I think that was announced today. Tony Storm will probably have a match, the Timeless one. Yeah, okay, I'll catch it, maybe, in 3 sittings.
But it's like we always say, right? The cards have too much on them, and the path to them is long and winding and doesn't make any sense, and it's exhausting to keep up with. And then the matches are bloody fantastic, right? Other than Big Boom AJ, look at these matches. Swerve and Ricochet, Moxley and Edge, Takeshita and Omega, friggin' Ospreay and Fletcher in a cage? These are going to slap. They're going to be so good. It's just that getting to them and watching the show in one sitting is a slog.
Yeah.
You know when Big Boom jumped the shark for me? I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen I think it was a cameo where he gave 5 big booms.
5 big booms for the lost loved one. Yeah. I'm sorry that your brother passed away. We give him 5 big booms.
Let's give him 5 booms. Boom. Boom. I mean, halfway through that, he had to be reevaluating his life, surely. This isn't worth this. Surely.
Alex Firehart has said, please have Swerve win the title from Moxley. That would be the best outcome of this Death Riders thing going this long. No, mate, what you don't know, Alex, is that AEW is only about 5% into the story. You've got another 3 years of it.
That would be hilarious that they did all of that after having old mate Darby do his thing at the end of that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I'll get you! What? Ah, shit.
So Darby's eventually going to have it, and I know that Swerve is like such a good choice. Like, he's someone who constantly deserves to be at the top of the card. Do you really, like, Alex, I need you to think about this. Do you want them to put Swerve Strickland and John Moxley in a match together that might be no DQ? Is that a safe choice? Let's really think about that. Think about the things that either of these men have done in matches where both of them we've gone, oh, that was too far. Let's put them together. That'll be great. That's my concern.
Also on the upside, I didn't write it down because I forgot all about it. But they announced today, I think, is that Max is going to be coming to Australia. The Max app, HBO Max.
Oh yeah, HBO Max is coming to Australia.
Yeah, they haven't actually. No, March is when it gets announced, released. Yeah,
there we go.
March 5th or something. But they haven't released what the price of the subscription is yet. They haven't actually said if AEW is going to be on it or not. So it's either like, it could be the fact that this is going to be great. You can cancel your Triller and you'll be able to watch like Dynamite and Collision on HBO Max, and it'll probably be in the end run maybe cheaper because you may be paying an extra couple of dollars, but you're getting all the HBO Max content as well. So it's going to be interesting to see in a couple of weeks or a week or two.
What's even more fascinating about this is Binge covers all the HBO stuff at the moment. Binge have already lost WWE. If they lose the HBO stuff, the only real draw show they have, premiere show, is Taskmaster. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I don't know if you've noticed too, but like on Binge, they've started to put a lot of KO stuff on there as well.
Yeah.
They've tried to bolster it up with a little bit of like extra. Yeah, they are losing stuff left, right, and center, aren't they? Because they're
imagine they're going to wind up combining KO and Binge.
DAZN bought Foxtel.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's you've got to wonder who they're marketing to, because like Real Housewives is still on there, right? So like, as much as we can see the content that they're losing, the question is, who is the subscriber base that they're targeting? And at the moment, it seems to be not us. I'll tell you who is targeting us is the WWE, and there's stuff going on over there. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The Judgment Day's Morgan and Rodriguez defeated Bianca Belair and Naomi as the champs in the main event of Monday's WWE Raw to capture the women's tag titles for a record third time in order to free Bianca Belair up to challenge Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. What do we think of this tag team title change? Sorry for editorializing at the end there.
No, because you pretty much just like said exactly what I think everybody is thinking now. This just frees her up. It frees her up either to do that or to have it eventually be.
Story.
Yeah, because. Also in a promo earlier in the night, in the Judgment Day promo, they talked about, you're the one that brought all this to your doorstep by attacking Jade Cargill. And Liv and Thing went, we had nothing to do with that. We were just there. Yeah. So they never actually said that they're the ones who did it. So eventually we're going to get that Triple H Rikishi video. Someone did it for The Rock. And we'll find out exactly if Naomi did it for The Rock. Actually, that would fit. Because that's a father-in-law.
I did it for the EST.
Yeah. That's a father-in-law. Rikishi's the father-in-law. There's the tie. There's the synchronicity right there. Rikishi was like, you want to get over, kid? Yeah. Do something with someone involving a car.
That's a segue. It took me fucking 20 years to get there, but that's a segue. And the rest, about 25 years. I'm really excited about this. I've got more to say about the match itself, about the women's tag title match. That'll be a bit later in the show. There's a precursor. But I thought this was terrific. Really, really nice that they're moving these storylines along and beginning to give women more of a profile on the shows. Each week you're seeing more and more and more come out, and it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I just did a massive burp. Karrion Kross was announced.
You know, you muted for a reason. You don't have to say afterwards why you muted it.
Yeah, but it was funny. Karrion Kross was announced as competing at the Future Stars of Wrestling benefit show for Bay. It's an event set for Sunday, March 23rd in Las Vegas. It's going to aim to raise money for Chris Bay, who's still recovering from being paralyzed after an in-ring accident last October. Former AEW champion Swerve Strickland, current AEW wrestler Brian Cage, and TNA's Trey Miguel are those who have been announced for the event that will stream live on Triller Plus. Obviously, I think the fact that Chris Bay has been able to stand and do some walking is such an incredible, wonderful story in the world of wrestling recently. And the fact that people are together doing these fundraising shows, which, by the way, also shout out to PWA, who just had their show Rampage over the weekend to raise money for a disability access ramp at the venue they were performing at. Like, this kind of stuff is just fantastic. So I think that, number one, it's excellent to see these shows happening. And number two, it's excellent to see that Karrion Kross, who's under WWE contract, is able to perform at a show like this on WrestleMania weekend.
It's great to see that, not just that, it's not on WrestleMania weekend.
It's just before. Yeah.
About a month before. But what I really, really like about this as well is it's not just a WWE show. It's going to have people from AEW, from TNA, and probably a few other places around the wrestling world. And that is, A, exciting, and B, shows you how much Trips is letting things be a bit looser. Because outside of one other time, when there was the Pillman benefit, but WCW were very much in their dying days, and the only person I remember from WCW being represented there was Regal, and that was probably kind of almost a between time. So it was almost out of WCW and not quite in WWE. He was probably in a contract with us.
Sorry, I could be wrong, but wasn't like Guerrero and He Who Shall Not Be Named also on those shows?
He Who Shall Not Be Named was, because He Who Shall Not Be Named wrestled the American Dragon Bryan Danielson in what was a fucking barn burner. And actually that was when Regal said to JR, who was the talent relations guy at the time, you want to pick him up. He'd been saying it for years, but they showed him the tape. So the story goes. But yeah, there were several. And I imagine we'll see several more announced at this point. For this one, it's still the better part of a month away, but boy, it's exciting. It's really.
It is. Following a recent incident involving Asuka, now Rhea Ripley is the latest WWE wrestler to speak out about fans violating her privacy. On Sunday night, Ripley posted to social media stating it is not okay to deliver fan mail to her personal address, emphasizing that it's especially inappropriate to deliver it in person. Ripley wrote, "Shouldn't have to say this. Do not ever send fan mail to my house. That is by mail or self-delivered. That is 100% not okay." Gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also wouldn't be rocking up to a house that potentially has Buddy Matthews and the Pariah.
Yep.
And a whole bunch of dogs, because they're dog lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Screw the dogs. I don't want to set bloody Eli on them.
Eli Facius is
Eli or Buddy. I mean, Buddy will kick the shit out of you as well.
Yeah.
Now, look, but I'm going to put it this way. You obviously know Rhea. You're mates with her. We know that. I saw that myself in the reaction Rhea gave you. If you were to head over to the States, would you ever show up to their house unannounced?
No, not at all.
No. I know Rhea a little bit. I know Buddy a little. I wouldn't be doing that.
No.
It's rude and it's poor form. And we've worked in that sphere. Don't fucking.
Well, it's not even that. not even that. Like even when you're visiting your friends, you see what's up and should I drop around? Unless you're like, there are some friends, of course, you just drop around. But 9 times out of 10, you go, hey, are you home?
Yeah, I'm in the area. You want to?
Yeah, exactly.
Rule of thumb: if you can't ask someone if it's okay for you to come over and expect a response, don't go to their house.
Yeah. If you don't call their mum, don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So look, that's disgusting, and I want to talk about wrestling. So let's move on. Just look, while we've been talking about, because that comes off the back of Asuka posting similar tweets, I want to quickly shout out Asuka's little tweet parade that she went on. Did either of you guys see this? Am I stepping on a chicken salad by talking about this?
No, go for it.
Right. Asuka spoke about a match that she'd had with Mickie James that she said was really good. And someone replied to it that's like, it wasn't that good, and posted the cage match ratings on it, which had it at about 6.8. And Asuka went on a tirade, which was incredible, saying, don't be an idiot. Reviews don't tell you whether or not something is good. If you like something, you're allowed to like it. Don't just parrot review. Don't tell me that because a cage match rating is there that a match that I enjoyed wasn't good. Enjoy things you enjoy. You don't. And someone was like, oh, but didn't you review games at Xbox Magazine? She went, no, I wrote editorials. I didn't review anything because I don't read reviews. I don't get people to tell me whether something's good or not. Like a thing if you like it. So big shout out to Asuka for just being the coolest person continually.
100%. It's like this show. We review something, we editorialize what we thought of the show. We don't tell you to don't watch it. We don't tell you like don't watch this is shit. We don't do it. Make your own mind up. Go and find it. Go and watch it. We encourage people to watch it. We encourage people to tell us what they think about it when they join us here on the show. Like, make your own minds up, people.
That's why we review so many shows that are free on YouTube. Because we want you to watch it. And if we're saying that it's good, we want you to watch it. And if we're saying that it wasn't for us, that means it wasn't for us.
Yeah, the amount of times I've heard, like, Uncle Dave or Brian Alvarez say something was really good, and I was like, oh, I didn't really enjoy that. And it happens. Like, I could have been at, like, I could have been at AEW last weekend, watching the same match that Lachlan watched, and I could have said, I thought that was shit, and he could have loved it. Flavors of ice cream.
Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's so important. It's so important when you acknowledge that you like something. But it's also important when you acknowledge that when you don't like something. I mean, WrestleMania is going to come around, and we usually agree on about the same matches that are good, but our disagreements on the matches we really didn't like. If you remember last year on WrestleMania, I said about 5 times, well, that's a Monday Night Raw match. And there was one particular, and I can't remember which match it was, but you both vehemently disagreed with me. That's fine. A, that makes the show interesting. And B, that means you all can shout at me and stuff like that. It makes for more interesting content. And that's all people are doing. But Asuka is 1,000% correct in what she's saying.
Yeah.
I have no problem with people saying they don't like something. Tell me why you didn't like it.
Yeah, like have a conversation about it. Like be interested.
Tell me why. The whole idea of this show started because Lachlan and I were talking on after a independent show. And it was clear to me that he had a different point of view to wrestling as what I did. So I pointedly invited him on the show to join me because he has a different point of view than I do. And I knew that we could talk about that. Because I'm one of those guys that I love a good debate about wrestling. I would rather have that than have just go, 100% right. I agree with that completely because that's boring. Because you could change my mind. I could change your mind. I could have you looking at something from a different point of view. You could have me looking at something from a different point of view. That's what makes wrestling great. That's what makes everything great. Being able to be malleable enough to change your mind.
What I really liked was about 3 weeks ago, you and I had a long conversation, and Lachlan, you were sadly having your tech issues, but we had a long conversation about the Mr. Cliff being part of the old guard thing. And that's part of what we're saying. And we agreed that we both had valid points. We both said that we saw the sense in what we were saying. But essentially we were stating that the whole thing's going in, you didn't completely like the direction we're going in, and I am enjoying the direction they're going in. So
nothing throws someone off on X more than saying, "Well, we'll agree to disagree."
Yeah.
Nothing throws anyone off more than that. So what do you mean? Well, I don't want to fight you anymore. This is boring.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah, and Asuka connected it to more than just wrestling as well. She was saying, like, if I just listened to reviews, I would never have played Data East games, which I love all of the games that they make. She said, I love Dio-era Black Sabbath. That's my favorite. And it's like, hell yeah, right? I mean, enjoy things you enjoy.
I mean, I'm going to Green Day this week. Not for any reason, but just a humble brag. Keep going.
You're not going for AFI? Sure. Anyway. I'm
going for Green Day and Private Function, to be honest.
Oh, Private Function. Let's move on. This Sunday, Australian time, March 1st, is Elimination Chamber. We've got 4 announced matches. My guess is that's going to be the entire card with the way that these shows tend to go these days. We've got a men's Elimination Chamber match, which is John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. We've talked about this and how kind of confusing the potential outcomes for this one are, so we'll see. Then there's the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which has Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. And we had a discussion last week about what the direction of that is, but now that Bianca doesn't have tag titles anymore, it seems pretty clear. Then there's a tag match with Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton up against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, followed by an unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which, like, Fight Forever is the chant that was made for them. That's what it is.
Get in my vein.
Like, how many times have they done this? And yet I'm still excited for it to happen again. This is going to be, and, obviously we had such a good time at AEW when it got to the card. And this is one of those matches one of those shows, I should say, where even if the lead up has been a bit more rocky than we have seen with other WWE shows recently, the talent on the card is so promising and the card is so clear in what it is offering. Here's 2 chamber matches, a women's tag, and an unsanctioned match. There you go. I love that.
First time in a long time that there are no titles on the line, and I think that actually helps this show because it raises the importance of the men and women's chamber matches. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, also this week, and I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but it'll still be a really great match. Rhea defends against Io Sky.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be good to see as well. Like, you can pretty much put really good money on the fact that Rhea will come out on top. But who knows if they throw a spanner in the works.
And if they do, then there's a lot of interesting options that they've got. I like it when there is a whole lot of directions that you can go in, and I feel like this week has been so much good stuff that it's almost impossible to predict what our chicken salad is going to be. But before we get to that, we like to talk about our chicken shit for the week. So let's start with Todd, because
I'll start with Jeff because Jeff's fired up one. He's got one going.
Jeff, give us some shit.
Right. I'm saying this with all due respect to the guy, but Dwayne Johnson, we don't need you out there for half an hour to tell Cody Rhodes that you want his soul. Like the crowd, and not just that, but you turned heel. You turned from heel to face 7 times in the space of that half an hour, and it was a confusing fucking mess. You could have gone out there, gotten through all of that a lot quicker and a lot easier, and I just found it a boring segment. And I never thought I'd say that about The Rock, but honestly, I was so bored by this. I just wanted it over.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. Todd?
There was a story this week, and it was based around something that Eric Bischoff and Conrad had said. And they were talking about Vince possibly talking to Fox, and could that mean like Vince was going to start a whole new wrestling thing? Which, if you listen to the actual thing, they said, look, this is no way this is going to happen. Like, this is just not happening. He's looking to do entertainment. He's not looking to do wrestling, because if he knows how hard it would be to fight something like the WWE and now AEW as well. But that didn't stop 1,000 different news sites aggregating it to Vince is getting back into wrestling. This is what's happening. Vince has had talks with Fox. Like, it just annoys the shit out of me. Like, that and fucking... Like, Sportskeeda is probably the worst one for it. Because you'll always see... Like Dollars to Donuts, you'll always see at least one episode or one story during the week saying, like, WWE legend says blah blah did this and disrespected them, and you turn out 9 times out of 10 it's fucking Ryback.
It's always Ryback.
It's always Ryback. So I mean, what
if
I guess
it's not
I'm saying
Ryback,
is if
Maven said something that's not at all offensive.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, if you see a story, look where the story... Not look at the news source that's reporting it. Look at what the original story is, and go and look at that.
Yep.
And discern the whole thing yourself, instead of reading like a headline that is basically there to get a click off you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
So that's my cheek. That's because it annoys me, because like I'd heard the story. I think I'd listened to the part off YouTube that they were talking about, and then I kept seeing it reported here, there, and everyone like, well, that's not what they said at all.
Alex Fireheart says media literacy for wrestling fans. Don't set the bar too high, Todd. I want to jump in because Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges has said chicken shit is today's TKO story about a renewed UFC WWE deal with the Western Australian government. Can't we put wrestling in a real city? My chicken shit is the response to the story about WWE going back to Perth, right? Because all of these people keep complaining that the big companies aren't coming to Melbourne and Sydney. We know that Melbourne and Sydney exist. We all know that there's Melbourne and there's Sydney. We've been there.
Because you don't fucking shut up about it.
Right? And guess what? There's good wrestling there. If I lived in Victoria or New South Wales, I would be watching good wrestling every weekend. It wouldn't be a problem, right? The fact that big companies are finding ways to bring wrestling to Australia should be a good thing. It should be a thing that we all celebrate, and we all get to go, hooray for the people in Perth who get to see fantastic wrestling. If they're over in, if we see a WWE PLE in October in Perth, yeah, I'm going to fork out money and go to it probably. But I'm also
Perth is a
excited for
nice
the people
fucking
in
city
Perth.
to go to.
It's a lovely city to go to, and there's a bunch of people in Perth who like seeing professional wrestling who are going to go to the pro wrestling, and that's a good thing, right? Like let's be positive for a bit about this.
And also,
again,
I just want to say that the WA government, and firstly, how dare you not call Perth a real city? I'm from Perth, and I find that fucking offensive. People in Perth work hard. People in Perth are like everybody else in this country. There are two reasons the WA government have forked out for this. One is there's a big fly-in, fly-out contingent that still go up the side of the country and will stay for a weekend and will spend money. The second is everyone around the world was talking about Perth. Every wrestling fan was talking about Perth. If you're going to whinge about something coming to Australia, don't bother. Like,
I'll tell you what though, like,
had a great
for
time.
people,
You should shut up, Andy.
no, it's okay to have that opinion, because like everyone in Victoria basically has that opinion. But I'll give you the hot tip, guys. You're not getting any type of wrestling. Not for a long time. Perth, the Victorian government just did a deal with the NFL. They just did a deal with the NBA. Where do you think the money's coming from, guys?
The mines.
I'm just saying. No, I'm saying to go to fucking Melbourne.
Yeah.
Where do you think the money is coming from to pay for AEW or WWE to come to Melbourne? There's not the money anymore.
Because WWE is not coming to a city for the ticket sales. They
don't have to.
The government is going to pay them more than they can ever make filling the MCG, right? Like, they've got the money locked down, and now everything that they do on the show is gravy, right? So, like, it's... Yeah, I think that I'm absolutely thrilled that Aussie cities are getting professional wrestling. I am thrilled that underserved cities are getting professional wrestling. And I'm also thrilled that Matt in the chat managed to make it before the end of the show, because he's a delight. Thanks, Matt, for joining us. Let's get more positive. Let's talk about chicken salad. Jeff, talk about something that made you happy.
Yeah, Jeff, be happy. Be happy, Jeff.
Come on.
Jeff, be happy.
Where's that
be happy,
smile,
be
Jeff?
happy, be happy, be happy. You're so much prettier when you smile.
It is really, really nice. A beautiful story came out this week that DDP has worked for about a year with Lex Luger, and he managed to stand up and get out of his wheelchair for the first time in, it would be over 10 years. And I think that it just, whether you like Luger or not, and I think he's a divisive character because of the Elizabeth thing. It's just beautiful that he got to stand up, and
I think you could see in that little piece that they showed how much he's changed his life, though.
Yeah.
Like, especially when he was talking about his kids. Like, I don't have a relationship with my kids because of the stuff I did, and I understand that. And maybe one day that might change, and I hope it does. But until then, I just have to keep working. And like the guys, there has to be room, and I'm not telling the kids that they should forgive him because I don't know what they went through. I don't know any of that stuff. But there has to be some capacity to accept that people can change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I thought that was a beautiful story. The main event of Raw, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez against Bianca and Naomi was such fun. It was a great match. Dom was perfect. Everyone was fantastic, but I want to say how good Liv Morgan is at the moment. She's just putting on a string of fantastic matches. I hope she gets her flowers at WrestleMania. I think she deserves a Mania match this year because she has worked so hard in not only her character but also her ring work. Is just
maybe those tag titles were a way of giving her that match.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope, because I think she's been really good, and I think she and Raquel are the first ever 3-time women's tag team champions, and I think that's really, really wonderful and speaks volumes for the work that she herself has put in. And I was really, really inspired by that. And finally, the show we watched tonight was just terrific. Like the one we've just reviewed. Great show.
Yeah, like I'm going to send it to Todd, but I do want to say, like, we review a lot of shows on here, and a lot of them are good, and it makes it so much easier to, with the amount of wrestling we watch, the fact that we're watching shows of this quality makes it tolerable to be able to go throw another show on the pile, because it's genuinely a delight to see. So big shout out.
Because that could have easily been a show where that was a chore to get through.
Yep. And it wasn't.
Like there have been shows in the past where we've watched, and you won't know by the review, but some of them have been a chore to get through. This wasn't. This was quick. This was good. It was nicely paced. It was good. My chicken salad this week was the Gunther and Tozawa spot on Raw.
Yeah, it was great.
That was like a squash without it being a squash. That was a lesson to. I hate to do the whole normal comparison that we do. That was a lesson to AEW of being able to get somebody over but still let them do a squash.
Mm.
Like we always talk about, like, everyone has to go out there and do 50-50 matches, and that way at the end of it, no one really looks strong because they both did the whole friggin' thing. This like gave Tozawa those bits, but then also showed what an absolute animal Gunther is by the end of it. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I even love the bit where he backed off when Otis took his shirt off and then snuck back in to put the sleeper on afterwards.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was really good. Like Gunther, considering he's not wrestling a hell of a lot, is still getting that character over so very well.
I think it was very much a mirror of Taka Michinoku against Triple H. And I think like it was kind of nice that it was that mirror. I loved it. I agree with you, Todd. Good call.
Yeah, Alex Firehard in the chat's chicken salad. They said they brought it up before, but it's cool to see an Aussie and JJ Furno getting an 8-show run with DDT starting sometime in March, especially with his debut being on DDT Judgment, one of their biggest shows of the year. Additional salad to Royce Chambers getting him the opportunity, according to what DDT themselves seem to say. After Royce's incredible run with DDT a few years back, makes sense to me that he would say to them, hey, check this guy out, and he gets that run. That's awesome to hear. Really impressed with that. I've got a few. All right. Number one, Jeff was talking before, or let's grab Matt Huswaits from the chat. Chicken Salad, PWA continuing to ace their PR with mainstream news coverage on Channel 10 Sydney tonight. Again, great stuff, getting more Aussie wrestling out there. I want to quickly talk about, we spoke about what DDP is doing to help get wrestlers healthy and living good lives, and it is not the first time that we've seen DDP do that awesome work, and he's been getting his flowers over time. But today, in an announcement that just hit me particularly, they announced that in WWE 2K25 they are going to have DDP as an unlockable, but not classic DDP, modern DDP as an unlockable. You can get the DDP yoga guy, and there's like an arena you can unlock, which is like, it's a small scale, you know, they're black curtains hanging up behind the backstage, and DDP comes out just to kind of celebrate, here's a guy worth celebrating in wrestling, even if he's not wrestling every week. Like, I think that's marvelous. And
he's 100%
to a great guy.
Yeah, he's 100% someone who should win that Warrior Award. I don't even know if they still do it now.
Yeah.
He's already in the Hall of Fame because of the yoga.
Yeah.
No, he's in the Hall of Fame because of his career. He had a very good career.
He had a great career. He was the guy at the end of WCW.
Yes, he was, but he's as much in there for the yoga stuff.
It makes it an easy pick. And I think that if this is getting him an additional payday by putting him in the game, I'm thrilled to hear that. I want to give another chicken salad to, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I know we have not shut up about her for a couple of years now, but I love Zaria's run at the moment with Sol Ruka. I love the stuff they're putting on, you know, X and all of that stuff. And the fact that they've got a tag match on NXT coming up against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. What a great... Sorry, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Spoiler alert, that's not the first time I'll have to do that in this chicken salad. The fact that they are putting those two teams against each other is, I think, so cool because, you know, they are both kind of that oddball powerhouse and technical wrestler tag team. But you get the main roster, you got the US champion coming down to work with these women in NXT, which I think is great. It's going to be a great showing. I'm really excited for that match. Speaking of that particular wrestler, sometimes, and I'm sure you boys have experienced this, when something is exactly your interests, you'll open up your phone and you've got 6 messages from different people all just sending you the same link. And that happened to me this morning, where I had 6 different people send me the same link, and it is for the next season of Dimension 20. Which is the role-playing game show on Dropout run by Brennan Lee Mulligan, who I think is one of the most entertaining dungeon masters in the world. It's between him and Griffin McElroy for me. I love everything Brennan Lee Mulligan does. But this season coming up that's based around like a kind of ancient Athens tournament where the characters interact with gods through this what appears to be like a fighting tournament is going to be so much fun. And when the players are Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Bailey, and Chelsea Green, what a lineup for a D&D actual play show. That is going to be an absolute delight, and like, couldn't be more my interests wrapped up into one show. So I think that is going to be absolutely worth checking out. If you're a wrestling fan who has any interest in tabletop games, those 4 are going to be delightful as players. I think the choice of Chelsea Green as an RPG player is inspired. She is going to be hilarious on that show. I can't wait. She is playing a cat rogue, which is just like, that's going to be a blast. So I'm really excited for Titan Takedown on Dimension 20, which you can get through the Dropout app. That'll be coming very soon. I'm not sure of an exact date. But like, there's so much good stuff going on in wrestling. I was just able to deliver 3 chicken salads without talking about a match that happened. You know what I mean? So if you want to keep up with the good stuff, subscribing to Wrestle Radio Australia is basically a must do. You can do it on, we're here at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. You hit the follow button to get notified whenever we go live. You hit the subscribe if you want to support what we're doing. It's free to subscribe anywhere that you want to do it, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get them, hit that subscribe button for free. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please do give us a review with 5 stars, because it helps us get into more ears. You can also follow us on the social media. We've got Todd at Beast Eastman. You've got me at Lachlan Albert. You've got Jeff, who runs the account at Wrestle_Brainia. Jeff, what's going on with Wrestle_Brainia?
The first thing that I want to tell you about with Wrestle_Brainia, I'm going to stop saying that, is that we are going to Adelaide. That's right. We are so excited to be in Adelaide for the first time ever as part of Adelaide Fringe. We cannot wait to see you there. Friday night, I'll be careful. Friday night, we have Mickey Fortune against Grim Basso. The old guard, that old guard feud, it's coming up against the Kings of Ruin.
Old guard versus Kings of Ruin on WrestleBrainia.
On WrestleBrainia. That's going to be great. Saturday night, Dean Brady against a mystery opponent. Not saying who. It's going to be fantastic. He'll be announced.
It'll be a night to remember.
He'll be announced soon. Sunday, Mr. Cliff. Now, Mr. Cliff is swearing he's going to win WrestleBrainia. He's going up against Banjo Powers. So, yeah, what a matchup. What a matchup. And then Monday, also another feud that's going on at the moment. We've got the Sheriff Down Under going up against Dr. Richard Gouda. Now, I also, remiss of us not to mention that Dr. Richard Gouda did a great job ring announcing on the show Summer Sizzler that we watched tonight. That's free on YouTube. So
yeah, it's very hard being a heel. I've had to do it before, playing a heel character, then having to do ring announcing where you're trying to get the crowd pumped up. That is a hard job to do.
And he did a great job. He did an excellent job.
Not to throw us off topic here, I did speak quickly to Dr. Richard Gouda during the Super Show because he was over. And a couple of things he said did make me bring his PhD into question, and he kind of moved past that very quickly. So I don't know if you want to try and investigate that during WrestleBrainia.
Oh, I've got some special things planned for Dr.
Good.
Richard Gouda at WrestleBrainia. Also, and these tickets are moving really quickly, are our tickets for our Melbourne run at the Burgee Band Room. Of course, Arthur Art Bar is where we're going to be in Adelaide. Burgee Band Room here in Brunswick, here in Melbourne. We will be announcing our talent very, very soon. But I can tell you what, we've got some unique and great matchups. We've got some first-time games. We've got some first-time players. We cannot wait to do this in Adelaide and Melbourne with you all in the room. Get your tickets now.
And while you're out, while you've got that credit card out to buy your tickets for WrestleBrainia, come and get some merch. Wrestle Radio Australia's got merch on Redbubble. Go to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia. The proceeds don't go to us. They go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, 2 awesome charities that support mental health here in Australia. And if you're buying merch, a great place to do it is Kickout Merch. You can head on over to kickout.com.au for merch of your favourite wrestlers from Queensland and etc. They're doing some awesome stuff over there, including the kind of preview shirts for Trent O'Day's new gimmick where he's uniquely violent and violently unique, and you can get the Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue style matching shirts for that. So there's some really cool stuff there. Check out Kick Out merch. Is there anything else that we need to plug, Todd, Jeff?
No, I think that's about it for me.
Yeah,
Man,
I'll be
when Lachlan hosts.
I'll be at UPW on Saturday night at the Soapbox in the Valley. Go and check us out there. We do have some stuff up on YouTube from the WWE media. There was like a media day sort of thing where they talked to a few wrestlers. So we've got Seth Rollins. We've got Sami Zayn, Bianca Belair, Roxanne Perez, and Drew McIntyre. So that and just one more piece of just little preview of some stuff here.
And you've got all the street cred and legit credentials. So it's really nice to do an interview with someone like you that is so well versed in the pro wrestling scene, particularly here in Australia. And I'm excited to be here for the first time ever.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Willie Yuta told him to say that. I just want to say one more thing, and that is if you're at Green Day on Saturday night, look for me at the back of the pit. If you're at Osprey Wrestling on Sunday, come and say hi, because that should be a really fun show.
If you're at Green Day on Wednesday, come say hi. If you're at Slipknot on Sunday, come say hi. If you're at Board Game Barbecue on Saturday, come say hi. Maybe if you're at Board Game Barbecue on Saturday, after we have the big game of 2 Rooms and a Boom, we can all get quickly down to the Valley and see if we can catch that Mitch Ryder, Jesse Love match at UPW. That'd be a blast.
Yeah. And if you see me, don't say hi, because I fucking hate you.
We all knew it was coming. We knew it was true. So with that said, I've been Lachlan Albert on behalf of Todd Eastman and Jeff Setti. Till next time, have a good one.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit.